Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today I'm going to be talking about some underrated sci-fi books that I think more people should read. So I've got my little space buns in, but they're not playing ball. They're very uneven, but oh well. So the first series that I want to talk about is the Velocity Weapon series by Megan O'Keefe. And this one is so much fun. We're following a character called Sander, and she essentially wakes up on this ship and she doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know when she is, and all she has for company is this talking AI called Barrow. And Barrow is the best AI character other than Mbot, but just so great. And Barrow essentially tells Sander when she wakes up that she is like hundreds of years in the future and like the world has collapsed and everything. So now Sander's kind of abandoned in space in the future, and has to try and work out what she's going to do. And then we're also following Biren, who is Sander's brother, and he is back on Earth just after Sander's gone missing in the past, and also the kind of political fallout from that, which is really interesting. And so that's kind of what's going on in book one. And then also about a third of the way into the book, suddenly someone turns up on the spaceship called Thomas, and then Sander has to try and work out who he is and like whether she can trust him and like what's going on. So it's really good. And Sander and Thomas I absolutely love. They're one of my favourite couples in SFF. I like the drama and everything that goes on. And Barrow I also absolutely love. Again, I already said he's like one of my favourite AIs. And then as the series goes on, a lot of revelations happen. Book one has some absolutely amazing plot twists. So like some of it is so good. And yeah, and then as the series goes on, we meet more characters and more stuff starts happening, and we find out more about like what's led to events and things, and it's just really interesting. There's kind of an alien threat, as there always is in a sci-fi book, but I just thought it's really good, and I really like the characters. The relationships are great, both of the main relationships, because later on Biren also kind of has a relationship, and I actually really like Sander and Biren as well, like that sibling relationship sort of at the heart of the story, and also their dads as well. I love them, and it's just also good, so would highly recommend. And then audiobooks are really good as well. So yeah. What's next? Okay, so then we have Pale Light in the Black by KB Wagner and its sequel Hold Fast Through the Fire. I love this series so much. If you like Becky Chambers, this is like peak Becky Chambers vibes. And we're essentially following this crew. I think it's called the Azuma Ghost or the Zuma Ghost. Essentially compete every year in these like spaceship games, which are sort of like the Olympics kind of. And it's very like found family crew, and they get this new member called Max, who has just joined the crew as the new lieutenant. And she is from this family who are a very powerful family, but she's almost like the black sheep of the family. And this family basically control this substance called Life-X, which is like a drug which gives people, allows them to like live longer and can live in space safely and things. And so Max is trying to escape from like under her family's shadow to join this Azuma Ghost crew. But there's family drama that's like following her, because the Life-X is now, there is counterfeit drugs on the market which is killing people, which is kind of the main like conflict in the book that's happening. But at the same time there's these games which are also quite fun, and just like tournament trope, I guess, but there's also the kind of serious drama happening at the same time, and I just really love the crew, all the members. So Jenks, who is like the sort of crazy one, no, she's really great, and then Rosa, who's like the crew captain, and she has her like family back on Earth and her wife and kids. Oh, they're so cute. And then there's various other characters. There's also Nika, who is the previous lieutenant, who's Jenks's brother, and he left, so Max is now replacing him. But Nika also kind of stays in the story kind of, which I actually really liked. You don't just get rid of him, and I like him as a character, and you get a lot more of him in book two. But there's various other characters. Book two has a great polyamorous relationship, like one of my favourite poly relationships. It's up there with like the one from The Rune of Kings, and what's the one from Library of the Unwritten as well. I just love it. What else can I say to sell the series? I don't know, it's just the perfect like cozy found family in space vibes, but there's also some really interesting like drama and space action, and also like I don't know, that's velocity weapon. I was gonna say spy drama. There is a tiny bit of it in book 2 actually, but yeah, so I would highly recommend that series. Okay, and then next we have The Calculating Stars by Mary Cowell Robinette, I think, and this one is really great. It's kind of almost like historical fiction crossed with sci-fi, and essentially it's like set in the 1950s, and this asteroid hits Earth, and so that obviously has a massive impact on events on Earth, and essentially the climate, like, scientists say that the Earth is going to become uninhabitable in a few years' time. So then NASA has to try and pull its space program together and essentially get people off planet. And the main character, whose name I can't quite remember, but she is essentially like an advocate for getting people off planet. She was a pilot in World War II, and now she's kind of training to be an astronaut, but they're quite obviously prejudiced, so they're saying like, oh, women can't be astronauts, but then she's trying to prove that women can be. And then also towards the end, and hopefully in future books, but I haven't actually read future books, there's a bit of intersectionality as well, because she's kind of a white woman, but then she's saying, oh well, why can't these black women who are also really good pilots like be involved as well, and like other women of colour. So it's really interesting in that sense. Whole kind of trying to save a dying Earth, well, not save a dying Earth, save the human population from a dying Earth, I think is a really interesting like concept to look at, and this kind of alternative history. And also the main character and her husband, I love their relationship. It's so cute and so precious, and there's some really cheesy like sex metaphors, but they're just so funny, and I think they have a really like sweet relationship, and I always love when like there's an established romance in books. I don't know, I don't always like loads of drama in a relationship. I like it when they're just supporting each other and like it's fun. And anyway, so I would highly recommend that series, especially I think if you're quite new to sci-fi. It's not super heavy on the sci-fi elements. I think if you like The Martian as well, I think it is quite different, but there's also some like similarities. So yeah, I would recommend that one. Okay, then next we have Norfolk Gloss by Essa Hansen, and this is one which is like, in a weird way, it has Becky Chambers vibes, but also it's a lot darker and a lot more kind of horrific. So following Caden, and essentially his like parents get murdered at the start of the book, and he is like, they all kind of, there's this group of people and they get sent to this planet, and then they all get attacked and his parents die, and he like hiding under this rock, and then he's the only survivor. And then this crew with this ship come down, and Caden then almost has some weird response to their like spaceship and can control it, or maybe it's not their spaceship, it's this spaceship they discover. So he then ends up teaming up with this crew of, I can't remember what the spaceship's called, I think it might be the Azora. Yeah, what's the sequel called? The sequel I think is called the Azora Ghost, and that's the name of the ship. Yeah. So the Azora, or the Azora Ghost, I can't quite remember which is the full name of the ship, but so Caden is essentially has this like bond with the ship, and then he also joins the crew, and the crew then, it becomes this like little found family, which I like those vibes to it. But also Caden's trying to get his revenge, and he is very revenge driven on the people who like killed his family. So that's kind of what happens in the story, and it's really good. The writing is like very kind of interesting, and it's almost philosophical in a way, and like the whole sort of revenge versus forgiving yourself almost type thing, I think is a really interesting theme to explore. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the sequel, and I just really like the whole crew and how they sort of take Caden in, and like the relationships between them and with each other. I wonder if, I'm sure there's a poly relationship in this one as well, or maybe not quite poly, but yeah, there's a lot of queer characters as well, and I think Caden's asexual as well, which is quite interesting because you don't always see that, so it's good to have that rep as well. So yeah, that is that one. Oh yeah, and also interestingly, they have this technology in the world which like can make people age super fast. So at the start of the book, like Caden's quite young, but then he like ages himself up to about like 20 and then for the rest of the book he's 20. But so yeah, that's an interesting arrangement. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, especially if you like sci-fi. I would hope you would like Sci-Fi if you're watching this video, but yeah, I filmed too many videos today, I'm losing my brain cells. So next we have Interdependency series by John Scalzi, and this is another really fun series. It's set in space. Oh, what a shocker. Yeah, so it's set in this world where solar systems are connected by this thing called the flow, and allows you to travel like between systems, but essentially the flow is collapsing. So that's kind of the driving conflict in the book, and we're following a few different characters. So we're following Cardinia, who is the Emperor's daughter, or the Emprox, I think they're actually called in this series, but it's the Emperor daughter, and her father dies, and then she is suddenly thrust into being the new Emprox and having to manage this situation with all the flow collapsing. And then also Kiva, who is this like, oh, she's great. She's like a feral bisexual, but she is essentially, she's running her own con, but she's also trying to root out corruption. And there's various things going on with her. And she's also travelling to this planet called End, which is where quite a lot of the drama happens in book 1. And then also Mars Claremont, who is the son of the scientist who basically discovered many years ago that the flow was collapsing, but no one really believed him, but now they're starting to. So he's the son of that character, but he's almost his father's like apprentice, so he knows a lot of the science. And so that's kind of what's going on, and at the same time there's various people out with their own agendas and trying to manipulate events for their own gain. And there's this family who are trying to almost pull off a coup and use the collapsing empire to its advantage, and our characters are kind of trying to stop them, and like but yeah, it's just, I love the writing, the humour's so great, it's really witty, and there's actually some really good like themes and concepts explored. And it's there's a quote somewhere. Yeah, so Scalzi continues to be almost insufferably good at his brand of fun but thinky sci-fi adventure. So that's kind of what it is. Like, there's a lot of speculation. It's kind of, I guess, well, not really speculative fiction, but there is a lot of like thinking points to it, whilst being like fun and action packed. It does make you think in points, and it does get a bit philosophical, and like some of the politics is really kind of reflective of what our world is at the moment, but also what it could be, and like how would humanity almost cope with like collapsing resources and being unable to access like the world as it is now, like globalized. And I don't know, I think it's quite interesting, and also the kind of lengths humanity will go to save itself, and also the kind of thing about like how much do you tell the general public like for their own good. And there's some quite interesting themes about like religion and religious figures, and it's just all very interesting, so would highly recommend this series. Okay, so I think that's all the books I'm going to talk about in this video, but I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if there's a sci-fi series that you really love and you think more people should read, because I'm always looking for more sci-fi recs. I feel like I've read like all the ones I can think of that I want to read. I don't know, but I just always love like discovering like hidden gems. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a really great day, and I'll see you next time.